everyone, I hope y'all are having a great day, and today I'll be reviewing P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. This is the second book in what I believe is a duology. The first book was To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and I read this last year. I really enjoyed it. I have a review of it, so I'll link it down in the pants so you guys can check it out. The first book is about a girl named Lara Jean who likes to write love letters to boys as a way of getting over them. Then she seals them away, never to be read by anyone, but then one day all of her letters get mailed out. Dun dun dun! This first book is so cute and so fun. I really recommend it. And the second book centers around the continuation of a relationship that's developed in the first book. I think I liked this book better than To All the Boys. At the very least, this book definitely hit me in the feels harder. I was just really emotionally invested in the story. It only took like a line to get me to tear up. Jenny Han just had this really firm grip on my heartstrings and she just played them like a guitar. I loved seeing the character development in this book. Lara Jean definitely grows a lot in this installment. She's still figuring herself out and she's learning to understand her own heart, which is so wonderful. I like how even in this fun, fluffy book, Jenny Han still manages to hit notes about diversity, feminism, and slut-shaming. Lara Jean is half Korean. I'm full Korean, so that was really cool to read about. Like, in the beginning of the book, Lara Jean talks about how she has to wear a hanbok because it's New Year's, and that's something that I do too. So to be able to identify with some kind of like cultural custom in a YA book was just so fantastic because that's like never happened before. It's so nice to be able to relate to that kind of thing. I might insert a clip of me wearing a hanbok if I'm feeling a little bit jazzy. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe I put this on just for this video. But yeah, this is what mine looks like. Whee! But yep, diversity is so important because it makes minorities feel visible. But really, diversity in books is a discussion that's been going on for a while now, and it's very big, and that's not what this video is about. There are a couple of things that I thought could have been done better, which knocked this book's rating down to 4 stars. I think the plot felt too factitious at times, like too contrived or too artificial. It didn't really flow naturally, in my opinion. It felt like some plot events just popped in out of nowhere with no build-up or foreshadowing, and at times certain characters felt like they were used as plot devices. Just once or twice, the writing felt a little bit awkward. There's this one line in particular that I remember that I thought was really like out of place, and it disrupted the flow of the paragraph. But other than those things, I really adored this book. There are so many great things happening in these pages, and reading it was just such an enjoyable experience. So if you're interested in reading this series and haven't yet, I recommend it. These books are just so cute, so fun, so angsty, and so adorable. I felt so happy while I was reading these. Like, even if I was crying, I was happy about crying, if that makes any sense. So that's all I'll say in the non-spoiler section, so if you haven't read P.S. I Still Love You, I advise you to go read it and then come back. Spoiler section starts in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so let's get into some spoilers. I'm gonna start by saying this. I think this review is going to be really long because I think I'm going to spend a lot of time ranting about Peter Kavinsky. I'm going to say this right now, be upfront about it. I'm not a big Peter Kavinsky fan. I know everyone else is. I know everyone loves Peter so much, and I recognize that I have an unpopular opinion, but I just don't like him. I kind of touched on this in my To All the Boys review when I said that just because someone isn't as bad as you thought they were doesn't necessarily mean they're good to begin with, and I still stand by that. I think Peter is kind of problematic. I'll talk more about that later. Also, I'm gonna get unpopular opinions out of the way, and I'm gonna say this. Everyone seems to love Kitty. I've seen a lot of people say that Kitty is their favorite character. Nope, not me. I think she's kind of irritating. Don't get me wrong, I freaking love the sister dynamic that Jenny Han has created with the Song Girls, but sometimes Kitty just annoys me. I like her sometimes, but overall, I'm just not a really big fan. Okay, so unpopular opinions aside, let's dive deeper into the book. The book starts with a letter Lara Jean wrote to Peter, and she's thinking of giving it to him, but then he's being like really closed off, and she gets disheartened, and she gets so close to leaving his house without having given him the letter, and without Peter knowing how she really feels. But luckily, Peter sees the letter in her coat pocket, he reads it, and then right from the get-go, right from the beginning of this book, Peter and Lara Jean are back together. Or maybe just together, not back together, because they were never seriously together in the first place. There are things about Peter that are really cute, like how he calls Lara Jean every night and he hints that he wants her to call him, how he drove Kitty to school for her birthday, how he wants his girlfriend to come to his rugby, is it rugby? I can't remember, like practices and games, how he was so upset that he couldn't protect Lara Jean from like the Instagram scandal. He can be really cute sometimes, and I can see why everyone likes him. But to me, the key thing in a relationship is communication, and that's where Peter fails. Lara Jean is a very specific kind of girl. She very much wears her heart on her sleeve. She's basically an open book, and Peter is practically the opposite. He really likes to hide what he feels. He doesn't always say exactly what's on his mind. So Peter and Lara Jean are just by nature pretty different people, and so they're not automatically going to fit perfectly together. So if they want to work, they're going to have to mold themselves into better fitting pieces. So for example, on Peter's end, Peter's going to have to be more vocal in his thoughts and feelings if he wants Lara Jean to pick up on them. Otherwise, she's not gonna know. When he keeps things bottled in, their relationship gets rocky. And it's frustrating because I think if Peter were to just verbalize more, things would work out. I'm gonna take this time to mention that I love the way Jenny Han crafted Peter and Lara Jean's relationship. I think it's very realistic because both characters have flaws and their relationship definitely hits their bumps, and I just think it was really well done. Lara Jean understandably worries about things like sex and her boyfriend hanging out with his ex and that kind of stuff, and it just feels real. It feels real that Lara Jean feels pressured about sex even though Peter never even brings it up on his own, and it feels real when Lara Jean freaks out over Peter bringing Genevieve to her time capsule party without warning, and just Lara Jean in general feels very real to me. And this is a striking contrast from how I felt in To All the Boys I've Loved Before. This is upside down. Because when I was reading the first book, I distinctly remember thinking that Lara Jean didn't feel real, but in this book, I connected to her very well. Okay, but back to Peter. If he would just tell Lara Jean that he's going to see Genevieve before he actually does it so that she doesn't have to catch them embracing outside of her house, their drama would be unnecessary. Like in my head, all Peter has to do is call Lara Jean before he goes to actually see Genevieve and be like, hey, Genevieve called me, she's really upset, I'm gonna go like comfort her, and then afterwards be like, okay, I'm back home. Things were really bad with Genevieve, but thank you so much for understanding. For the time capsule party, just be like, hey, just a quick warning, I'm bringing Genevieve with me, and I understand that you're mad, but please bear with me, and I promise I'll explain things later. Like, that's all you need to do. Because Lara Jean is the type of girl who really needs that reassurance. And it's obvious that Lara Jean needs that kind of thing because she's a very paranoid kind of girl. And the fact that Peter didn't do anything to work with that paranoia was frustrating to me. It's like, you know she's gonna be worried and anxious about you hanging out with your ex, so you should do the best that you can to reassure her that she doesn't have anything to worry about. Also, show her that you have nothing to hide. If you're not going to tell her when you're hanging out with Genevieve, you're making things worse. I think Peter thinks that not mentioning it is his way of saying, look, it's not a big deal, it's not even worth mentioning. I feel like he should have known that in Lara Jean's point of view, it looks like he has something to hide. And I know some of you are thinking, why does Peter have to do so much work? Why does he have to do so many things to please Lara Jean? Why can't Lara Jean just learn to trust him and stop being paranoid all the time? That's true, that's valid, but that kind of goes against Lara Jean's very nature, whereas all Peter would have to do is just like call Lara Jean an extra couple of times. I don't know, maybe I was expecting too much from Peter. After all, it's very realistic that a high school guy wouldn't be like super observant of his girlfriend's characteristics and immediately cater to them. I understand that's like a very idealistic version of a boyfriend, but that's just what my thoughts were while I was reading. And speaking of trust, Lara Jean told Peter that Genevieve was the one responsible for the video, and he didn't really believe her. And then he found out that she was right, that it was Genevieve who was responsible, and he didn't let Lara Jean know that he knew. Peter, what are you doing? Okay, this is the last thing. Another thing that Peter did that just made me want to slap him was when he asked for the necklace back. When I was reading that, I was like, oh, don't do it. Oh my god. That is one of the douchiest things you can do. A gift is a gift. Once you've given a gift, it's no longer yours. You have no claim over it, so you have no right to ask for that necklace back. That was just so rude of him. Like, where are your manners, Peter? Even when you're hurt and heartbroken, you should still maintain etiquette. When it was Lara Jean's birthday and John Ambrose McLaren gave her the snow globe, it was just so cute. It was just so very John Ambrose McLaren of him to give her something so thoughtful. And then Peter marched right up to her and gave her back the necklace and declared that he was gonna win her back. And that was just not cute of him. First off, he gives her back the necklace not because he was like, wow, let me fix something that I shouldn't have done in the first place, but rather he wants her to have something that's going to mark her as his once he gets her back. He tries to relate it to the 1950s pinning thing, and I understand that he's trying to be like, I want you back, Lara Jean, and I'm trying to get my act together. And look, here's proof. I listen to what you say when you're talking to me. His intentions are sweet, but the way he goes about things just makes me really angry. And I know everyone loves him, and I realize that taking so much time ranting about him is really grating on some of y'all's nerves, so I'll stop here. I'm sorry if I made you angry. I just wanted to put my opinion out there. Now I want to talk about John Ambrose McLaren. Oh, John Ambrose McLaren. We knew going into this book that there was going to be a love triangle, and I personally loved it anyway. I love John Ambrose McLaren. I think he's like that perfect ideal boyfriend. He's smart and thoughtful and caring, and he understands you even when you don't have to say things out loud. He's the kind of boy who will dress up in an army uniform and borrow his dad's car so he can drive you to a party that you're hosting and then spin you around by the end of the night. He's so freaking adorable and classy. I'm so into him. However, that being said, I didn't really feel the chemistry between him and Lara Jean. Lara Jean and Peter, they have great chemistry and fantastic tension, and you can feel those things while reading. But I don't think I felt much when I was reading about John and Lara Jean. I think John is great. I would personally date the crap out of him, but I thought it was obvious that Lara Jean's heart was always Peter's. I kind of think John was used as a plot device just so that Lara Jean could realize how she felt about Peter and how serious it was. I'm still hopeful though. Maybe sometime in the future, John and Lara Jean will have their chance. I liked seeing Lara Jean grow into herself. She learns a lot about herself in this book, like how she's just in love with love. I wish her relationship with Josh would have been better reconciled. I know that we have that one car scene where she drives him, but I don't know, I didn't think it was quite enough. Like, Josh has been this huge presence in all of the Song Girls' lives, but because of this one romantic debacle, he's now isolated from them. I wish that bridge between Josh and the Song Girls could have been better reconstructed because Josh was just like a really big part of them as they were growing up. I think the Instagram scandal came out of nowhere. It felt to me like it existed just to create drama in the plot, and it didn't feel like a natural progression. So it really brought like an artificial feeling to the book because it felt so sudden and contrived. I thought the ending was so rushed. 1 second, Lara Jean and John are happily together. The next, Lara Jean is telling him sorry, but she's still in love with Peter. The next, Lara Jean and Peter are working things out again. And then the book's over. It all happened so quickly, and I feel like John didn't get a proper ending to his character, and Peter and Lara Jean didn't spend long enough talking over their issues before they were in each other's arms again, and I feel like the entire last section of the book could have definitely been drawn out more. Nonetheless, I still really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really fun and really cute, and it definitely pulled out a bunch of different emotions from me. I loved reading it. I just felt so happy while I was reading it. Let me know what you thought of P.S. I Still Love You. I hope all you Peter fans aren't too irritated with me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day and happy reading. Goodbye!